Okay, welcome back everybody. We're talking about House of the Dragon episode 4 tonight. Before we begin, let me know if you can hear the sound of my voice in the chat room. Also, thank you to anybody who's checking us out for the first time. We've had a nice little boost in new subs thanks to those She-Hulk videos, so that's always nice. Let me know if you can hear me in the chat room, and then we'll get started. And, okay. Microphone appears to be working. Cool. So, again, if you're new here, the way this works is I go over the whole episode to give my thoughts, then we do super chats and whatnot at the end. So, if you have any of those, get them in now. I'll try to cover everything. And... excuse me. Alright. Anyway, if you're curious about how I felt about the new Rings of Power episode, I have not seen it yet. Just FYI, I haven't had time to go back to that one yet. I did have a chance to watch Cobra Kai Season 5, though. That was pretty cool. But we're not here about that tonight. Anyway. House of the Dragon Episode 4. I saw some things saying this was the most controversial episode yet, and yeah, they weren't kidding. Some parts of this one were hard to watch. Anyway, it begins with Rhaenyra on a little trip. Yeah, I guess her father, Viserys, the king, sent her on a tour of the Seven Kingdoms looking for a potential husband. So she's been, sailing all over the place, looking at all the possible suitors. And we find her in a castle, surveying a long line of potential suitors, each one taking their turn, making their case one by one. It starts with a much older guy, older than her father, and she doesn't like him. Next is a little kid who looks barely into puberty. He's also very unimpressive, even so much that he gets heckled by some dude who's watching all this off to the side. The kid gets pissed off, so swords are drawn. The kid actually kills the heckler, so maybe not so unimpressive. Excuse me. Regardless, though, Rhaenyra's had just about enough of this. They've been at this for a while, and there's still 2 months to go, but she's basically tapping out at this point and going home. So she just has to bug out. They sail home. And she sort of confides in Sir Criston Cole again about, yeah, their dad's probably going to be pretty mad that she's ending this little venture 2 months early, but hey, what are you going to do? On the boat ride back, she sees Daemon's dragon in the sky heading for King's Landing. And Rhaenyra does not look displeased to see him. Not sure why, though. I mean, their last meeting wasn't exactly pleasant, but, that's the Targaryens for you. Apparently I made a mistake last week. I thought Daemon had defeated the Crab Feeder after Viserys' army showed up to help, but no. Now, that was Daemon and Corlys's army. In my defense, it was a little confusing the way that was laid out. I didn't know Daemon had had more than one dragon, because there were multiple dragon riders there. I thought the only one was his dragon, but I guess they had a couple. But yeah, he pulled it off on his own. And in the time since then, for his victory, he's been anointed King of the Narrow Seas. It's a pretty short reign, though, as he presents himself to Viserys, alone, with no entourage or guards or anything, hands over the Crab Feeder's weapon to add to the Iron Throne, and he takes his crown off. And Yellow Lantern, I see you with a super chat. Thank you very much, very generous. Well, you'll be the first one up when we finish this. Yeah, so he takes off his crown, bends the knee to Viserys, and proclaims his brother the only true king. Did not see this coming. I guess fighting a losing war for a few years, getting shot with a few arrows, and nearly dying before barely beating before barely coming out on top in the Stepstones, gave Daemon a dose of humility, which frankly he could really use. Yeah, he needed that, and I like this. I didn't expect it, did not expect it, but that's why it's good, and it gives Daemon some more layers that he wouldn't have had otherwise if he just stayed in Dragonstone and played at being king. Ah, damn it. Sorry. Something in the air today. So, okay, so later on, if they're having a party, right, Daemon and Viserys are getting along famously, like they were never estranged in the first place. And, they're laughing, they're drinking, telling old stories. Things are great between them now. Things are much more tense between Rhaenyra and Viserys, though, and between Rhaenyra and Alicent still. Still super awkward, nobody really knows what to say to anyone, so Rhaenyra pretty quickly excuses herself. Alicent talks to her, tries to make nice, asks her about the tour. She thinks it's kind of romantic to have all the men in the Seven Kingdoms fawning all over you. Rhaenyra doesn't agree, though, because those men just want her title and her Valyrian blood for their offspring, and, who wants to be stuck in a castle cranking out kids for the rest of her life? She just basically described Alicent's life, though, so that makes things a little bit awkward. Alicent is glad she's home, though, because, Alicent doesn't have many friends these days now that people see her as the queen and not just the Lady Alicent. So she'd become more of a figure than a person. And kind of makes her miss the way things used to be. Rhaenyra did miss her too, and the coldness between them kind of melts a little bit. I can't imagine that's going to last long, but it's a nice moment. Then the princess talks to Daemon. Side note, when they're speaking in High Valyrian, the subtitles are really hard to read. Like, they're very, the font is very small, and the color kind of blends in with the background sometimes. Maybe it's the resolution on my TV, but I had to pause the DVR to make out what they were saying a couple times. Anyway, they remark how they've both matured in the last 4 years, and they talk about this whole marriage business, which Daemon writes off as a political arrangement, so after Rhaenyra's tied the knot to somebody, she can just do what she likes. And she points out that it's an arrangement for men, but for women it can be a death sentence. Her mother died cranking out heirs, and she doesn't want that to be her life too. She just wants to be left alone. Daemon thinks that sounds lonely, and to deny the bad things life has to offer is to deny the good things as well. Okay, there's some truth in that. Small council meeting. Rhaenyra is no longer the cupbearer. So good for her, I guess. Not sure when that happened, though. They discuss how the crab feeder may be gone, but now they've got a new problem, because now Corlys is the one stirring up shit in the Stepstones. And he's negotiating with the Sea Lord of Braavos to marry off his daughter, Laena. And, I can't stand these Westerosi names. Every time the spell check in my computer changes them, I have to go back and change it back. Ugh, it's so annoying. Anyway, he's trying to marry off his daughter, Laena, and form an alliance with the Free Cities. If that happens, then Corlys and his people would be getting, dangerously powerful, so they'd have to form an alliance of their own to match that. And Rhaenyra doesn't say anything, but she knows what that means, and she's not too happy about it. Even less happy when she hears Alicent dealing with her screaming baby as she heads off to bed. And I'm with Rhaenyra on that one. That sounds like a nightmare. But in her room, she finds a big bag of stuff with a note inside that tells her about a secret passage in the wall that she can open up, so she disguises herself as a boy, takes the secret passage, and it leads her to Daemon, wearing a hoodie, so as to not be recognized. So he takes her out for a night on the town. Nobody knows they're in the royal family with their disguises on, so they can just go out and have a fun night, free of all the attention and responsibility they usually burden with. And King's Landing is a circus at night. There's fire breathers, fortune tellers, people fucking in the alley. There's a dude tightrope walking like over the buildings and shit. It's pretty impressive the amount of detail that went into this. They take in a show, and unfortunately the show is a comedy about what a shit show the royal line of succession is. Literally, that's the whole thing. It's a comedy about what a mess the whole thing has become. Like, Viserys had to choose an heir between his younger brother, a girl, the prince, who's a toddler. So it's all a big fucking mess, and of course all the people in the audience boo the girl option. And Daemon has to point out to Rhaenyra that many of the people think Aegon should be the heir, and if Rhaenyra wants to be queen, that's something that she's gonna have to deal with, like it or not. She still doesn't really want to listen to that, though, so she fucks with a street vendor for a minute, then runs away without paying. So, Daemon follows. She's just blowing off steam, and she runs into a gold cloak, but he recognizes her, lets her go. Also, there's some other scenes in there of Alicent dealing with the baby. The Maesters have Viserys, which spell check has changed to Viceroy. Mother of God, stop it. Stop. If I wanted Viceroy, I would have typed Viceroy. They have Viserys in the bath, cleaning all the new wounds the Iron Throne has given him since we last saw him. Dude, just get a fucking easy chair. And Alicent kind of takes pity on him, so she dismisses the Maesters and washes him herself. Then, later she's getting ready for bed, and honestly, you could have cut some of this. I mean, it's intercut with Rhaenyra having a taste of freedom for a change, so I guess it's to show that Alicent feels trapped by how her life has turned out, but I don't think you needed all this. And it gets pretty uncomfortable when Viserys summons her in the middle of the night to, perform her wifely duties. And they actually show the sex scene, too. It's so gross. It's not graphic or anything, but the age difference is really apparent here. Viserys' back is all covered with sores and like old scars and wounds and stuff. And Alicent could not be less into this if she tried. She's just staring up at the ceiling with this blank look on her face while Viserys gets his rocks off. Oh God, I wanted to fast forward through this. Ugh. Yeah. Gross. But it's also intercut with Daemon and Rhaenyra visiting a pleasure house where people are fucking all over the place. They're fucking on the floor and chairs. You've got same-sex couples over here and over there, and everybody's just fucking all over, just fucking having a grand old time. And things are getting kind of weird now between this niece and uncle. So they start going at it. And we're mostly on close-ups, so it's not entirely clear how far it actually goes. They make out a little bit. Rhaenyra seems weirdly into it. And, she did, I think, drop her pants. But Daemon starts to have second thoughts, and then he takes off. I'm just not sure if it was before or after he, went in. I'm guessing he didn't, but I can't be sure. I didn't totally buy this. It was hinted at in the first episode that Daemon had ideas about what to do with Rhaenyra. But I mean, it's been several episodes since that was teased, and something like 4 years have gone by. And this went from 0 to 60 really fast. Kind of felt like they were trying to ham-fist this in there. And we don't even know what happened to Daemon's other girl yet. And how just messed up is it that what the uncle and niece were doing here was not nearly as uncomfortable as what Alicent was going through right now. Ugh. Very controversial stuff. They weren't kidding. So Rhaenyra comes home. Now, she's all worked up. Sir Criston tries to check up on her, make sure she's okay, but she suckers him into his room, grabs his helmet, plays keep away with it so he can't get it back, kind of traps him in there, and she basically seduces the guy. To his credit, he seems to want to be, to want to do the virtuous thing here, because if this were to go any further, they'd both be in a lot of trouble. But the girl he likes is literally undressing him, so he's only human. Thankfully, this sex scene is much less uncomfortable. You can actually enjoy this one without feeling like you need to be disinfected afterward. But you can't enjoy it for too long, because some kid on the street saw what went down in the pleasure house and goes straight to Lord Hightower with this information. Hightower tells the king, and Viserys doesn't want to believe it, and even accuses Hightower of doing this just to put his grandson on the Iron Throne instead of Rhaenyra, because his ambitions have been so obvious. But he knows there's something here. And, of course, Alicent was secretly listening to this, so she's not happy about it either. That's the first acknowledgement we've had of Viserys knowing about how ambitious Hightower is. Seem to always, trust him above most other people. I guess it's something he just never spoke of. Meanwhile, Daemon wakes up in an inn, I think, somewhere. His girl from before kind of took care of him after he went on a bender, but only as a courtesy. It looks like these two are not together anymore, and she's gotten out of the flesh trade since we last saw her, and he still seems to feel something for her, but she just wants to be done with him now. And that's another thing we missed out during the time jump in between episodes. Could have used more information about that. It doesn't even seem like that much time has passed. Maybe, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year at most. Maybe not even that long. Because, Alicent has since given birth to their second kid, but that kid's still pretty little, so I don't know. I'd say about 6 months. Anyway, Alicent summons Rhaenyra to the Godswood, wants to know what happened, and there's a lot going on in this scene. Like, Alicent is mortified that Rhaenyra might have been sullied in such a way, which, could screw up their chances of getting Rhaenyra married off. But there also might be a little bit of jealousy, a little bit of betrayal in there too, because, the writers have never totally defined what exactly there was between these two. Were they friends? Were they a little bit more than friends? Was that on Rhaenyra's side? Well, I think it's obvious Rhaenyra wanted something more than friendship. I was never 100% on whether Alicent felt the same way. This scene kind of plays it like she did. But that's been a little inconsistent. Also, Rhaenyra's denying that anything happened, but there's only so much that she can deny because some of this stuff is actually true, just not the way they think. So she tells part of the story, leaves out the grosser details, and doesn't mention Kristen. So it's like, well, we went to a pleasure house to see the people fuck, but then Daemon just got drunk and went off with a whore, so nothing really happened. So she glossed over a lot of stuff there. But Rhaenyra's put herself in a tough spot, because enough people in the castle saw her coming home disguised as a page, so people can corroborate the story to an extent. You couple that with what the little kid told Hightower, there's enough of the story out in the open now that rumors are already spreading, even if they don't have the full story. And Viserys is pissed. He confronts the hungover Daemon about what happened. Daemon doesn't really deny that something happened, but we still don't know exactly how far it went. Viserys thinks Daemon has ruined Rhaenyra because who would want her in this condition? Daemon says to wed Rhaenyra to him, he'll take her, then the two of them will restore the throne to its proper glory. And there it is. Daemon might be a little more humble now, but he's still Daemon. Viserys finally understands that Daemon still wants the crown for himself, basically tells him to fuck off and get out. So, Alicent sticks up for Rhaenyra to the king, says that Rhaenyra swore to her that she's still a maiden, and Alicent believes her, which is tricky because Rhaenyra was lying about that. And also, it doesn't really matter what the truth is at this point because the perception is all that matters. And if Rhaenyra was a man, she could father dozens of bastards and no one would blink at it, but she's a girl, so the rules are different. And she is not pleased about that. So Viserys talks to her, reminds her about the prophecy of the prince who was promised, coming from their blood, and how the responsibility of that is bigger than them, bigger than her or her desires. So he finally puts his foot down here, and he doesn't strip her of her title or of her being the heir to the throne, because he doesn't want to, quote, sow further division, unquote, as he puts it, but he is going to force her to marry Laenor Velaryon to get Corlys back on their side. So that should solve their political problems and ensure the House of the Dragon survives for another generation. And Rhaenyra does, begrudgingly agree to this, but she spits back at her father that he needs to get his own house in order, and that means dealing with his hand, Lord Hightower, who is so self-interested and ambitious that he's not really good for Viserys to have around. So Viserys fires Hightower. No, spell check, it's not Viceroy, it's Viserys, you stupid machine. So yeah, he fires Hightower, finally calls him on his bullshit, how he manipulated Alicent into becoming the king's wife and whatnot, and, Hightower's ambitions just aren't good for the realm anymore, so Viserys strips him of his title, and he's not going to be the hand. And I don't know where that's going, because, pretty sure Daemon's not going to be the new hand. I would vote for that guy on the council. The one who actually gave him good advice. Like that one dude who seems to not have some kind of agenda. He's like the one guy you can trust on the small council. I go with him. Can't remember his name, though. And the episode ends with the Maester serving Rhaenyra a special tea from the king that I guess is the Westeros version of the morning after pill. Because, gotta make sure there are no complications. This was another good episode. Not as good as last week. The political stuff that I didn't care so much about at first is getting more interesting now. Still slow-paced, so it's a little bit of an uphill climb, but we're headed in the right direction. The characters are getting more layers to them. Some of the sex scenes this week were uncomfortable to watch, to say the least. But I guess they are a useful way to illustrate why some of these characters are so fucked up. I mean, Alicent in particular. Oh, that is ugh. I mean, I'm not sure how much sympathy I can have for her, because if she'd said something, she probably could have avoided this situation. I mean, she basically did it to please her father, I guess. But, still. And she could have done something. And, also, the characters are starting to draw me in more. Daemon is still the best, because Matt Smith is still the best person in the cast. Who knows? That may change when they swap out the younger actors for adult versions, which I think is happening in the episode after next. Correct me if I'm wrong. But Daemon's still the best right now. I still don't really care for Viserys that much. But Rhaenyra is growing on me, though they may have skipped a step or two with her and Daemon here. I don't know, that felt a little unearned, because these two characters haven't even interacted that much since, well, not at all really, since episode 2, which means they've barely seen each other in 4 years. Then they have 1 or 2 scenes together, and suddenly they're going at it in the pleasure house. It's like, really? Ah, thought they should have been more build up to that. I think. But we're like I said, we're going in the right direction, and I'm more inclined to keep watching as the show goes along. I do hope they'll tone down the gross stuff. I'm sure they won't, but the stuff about kids being forced to marry adults and have sex with much older people, I cringe every time that comes up. Yeah, I know it's part of the world, but that I can do without. Good stuff overall, though. I'm still enjoying it. It's been refreshingly good so far. I was expecting this show to be kind of a mess. Turns out it's been good. And, that's all I can ask for, really. Alright. Sorry about my voice. It's chronic allergies. This stuff never really goes away, unfortunately. It's a little worse than usual today. Yellow Lantern with a $50 super chat. Very generous. Thank you so much. Won't be able to stay long, so I thought I'd say hey, dude, and wish you a good evening. Well, thank you very much, and hey yourself, Yellow Lantern. Sorry if I missed you. Sorry if I missed you. Wow, I should have done this when I saw it. Yeah, props to Yellow Lantern. Put him in the the Super Chatter VIP section. He earned it. Wow. Very generous. And alright. I bet it feels good to review a good show. Yeah. Yeah, it does. I was hoping to do a Cobra Kai Season 4 review. Season 5, excuse me. But I don't know, the timing didn't exactly work out. I know I've said this before, but I hate the release schedule for She-Hulk. Because new episodes dropping on Thursdays is so inconvenient. Because, I mean, like, new movies or new Netflix shows or whatever, they tend to drop on, like, Thursdays or Fridays. So, instead of having enough time to cover both, everything comes out at the same time. So, if I wanted to review, like, Cobra Kai or something, I kind of have to be working on two things at once. And considering how much time the She-Hulk videos take to make, it just doesn't really work out. Because, most of the day, like on Tuesdays, are spent getting ready for this, and with my body clock sleep schedule, so fucked up, because I'm basically pulling all-nighters, working on the She-Hulk videos, I don't get a lot of sleep. So I usually staying up late and sleeping late. So I try to get up early. Usually doesn't work out. Doesn't leave me much time. So I got up today and started, I rewatched the episode, took all my notes, got ready, and next thing I knew it was 9 p.m. So that's the whole day. And then tomorrow, I guess Wednesday is going to be spent doing IRL stuff, running errands and whatnot, and then the day after that we got She-Hulk again. Ugh. So, the Cobra Kai review kind of slipped through the cracks. Not totally lamenting that one, though. The Season 4 review didn't really perform that well, because I'm not really the guy people come to for Cobra Kai content, because other content producers have kind of cornered the market on that stuff. Because, I mean, if you want Cobra Kai stuff, you're going to go to Cobra Kai Theory or Watch Party or one of those guys. They're going to be the go-tos for stuff like that. So, I'm not really in that club. So there might not have been much of a point to kill myself trying to get that done before I have to get back to She-Hulk. Let's see. What disease does he have? He's losing fingers. I don't think Viserys has a disease. I think it's just a metaphor. Like, he's not suited to be king, so the Iron Throne is rejecting him. I think that's what they're going for. I could be wrong. Because, I mean, he doesn't seem to be that vital of a character health-wise anyway. It seems like every episode he gets his health, like, deteriorates a little bit more. I don't think it's a sickness thing. I did it first. Now I think it's just a metaphor to show that the Iron Throne is slowly killing him. Yeah, they made sure not to show anything. Yeah, they did. I don't know how old the Alicent actress is. Apparently, the girl playing Rhaenyra is 22, which is older than I thought she was. But they're young enough to where seeing them nude would feel like you were doing something illegal, I think. So I think they were careful enough to not show any of the naughty bits on either of them, thankfully. Because, yeah, I don't... yeah, I would have felt wrong seeing that. They kind of, they just kind of filmed around it. Still creepy, though. Was it second thoughts, or did he have performance issues like in episode 1? I don't know. I think they kept it deliberately vague, which is the whole issue I'm having with that. We don't know how far it went or why Viserys stopped. Maybe we'll find out later? I don't know. I mean, it didn't look like he was happy about it. Think that was Daemon's whole plan. He was putting on a show for the spies. Okay, but if that was the plan, then why not finish? Alright. It's stated later he's had impotent moments before. Is it? Is that in the books? I guess it must be. Yeah, Daemon knew the spy was watching. Did he? Did he? I'd have to rewatch that. I mean, I knew they were drawing attention from a lot of the people in the pleasure house. I didn't know that. I didn't know Daemon knew the spy was watching. Are you talking about the gold cloak guy who saw Rhaenyra? Possibly. Hold on. Green Entertainment, thank you for the super chat. Will you ever check out Primal? Primal. I don't think I've ever heard of that. Hold on. No. Primal. Let's see. An American adult animated action horror television series. Cartoon Network. Alright. I haven't seen Primal. Haven't even really... Oh, yeah, okay. I think I remember seeing some stuff about it. Have not seen it yet. you guys are interested in, if you guys are interested in a new show, though, I have seen Pantheon, which is on AMC Plus, which I don't have. I've been watching it online. I think it was like 3 episodes in so far. That's been pretty good. They haven't gotten to the really interesting. Excuse me. They haven't gotten to the really interesting stuff in the trailer yet. So it's kind of slow paced, but it's interesting. It's like it's all about like AIs and like artificial intelligence and stuff like that. It's a pretty interesting show. There's a lot of subplots, a lot of like wheels within wheels and conspiracy stuff, and I'm enjoying it. So I would actually recommend that. I think it showcased another face of Daemon, and that he was being a teacher to Rhaenyra and holding himself back on purpose. Also showed Hightower in a Catch-22. Yeah, we saw a different side of Daemon here. I think I don't think Daemon is as has as much tunnel vision for the crown as I thought he did at first. Like I said, we saw more layers to him. Like he is. I mean, he does have like thoughts and feelings about other things. Like I liked him trying to kind of coach Rhaenyra and give her like the full picture. Like, hey, this is a thing you're gonna have to deal with, and you can't just ignore it. You can't just ignore that shit. And yeah, that was nice. You know, I prefer him being like conflicted and complex rather than him just wanting the crown. You know, that's good. Some people talking about the new actress playing Rhaenyra. Is the adult Rhaenyra actress trans? I heard she was non-binary. I didn't hear trans. Do we have confirmation on that one? I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, she can be whatever she wants. I'm just curious. For the record, I don't care. Ultimately, you know what the actress is. All I care about is, can she play the part? So if she's non-binary, fine. If she's trans, also fine. I'm not bothered by that. Is she a good actress? Does she fit the character? That's all that matters. As people love the prince, he is the only other dragon rider in the Targaryen family. Killing him would be stupid. Well, no, he's not. I mean, we saw other dragon riders last week. I mean, there's at least one, like one other one. Because in that big battle scene with the crab feeder, there was another dragon rider. I think there might be one or two others. Because there's Rhaenyra, there's Daemon, and there's like one or two, at least one or two others that I think don't have names. They're just like anonymous people riding dragons, but and there's more than just him. Also, I mean, you could say you'd want to kill Daemon, but you know, it's one thing to say you'd kill your own brother. It's another thing to do it. Why does Otto tell the king the news himself? Feel like he could have gotten someone else to do it for him. Well, he tells him himself because he's the hand of the king. It's his responsibility to dole out unfortunate news like that. Might not enjoy it, but it's kind of his job. I mean, if he's not going to hear it from the hand of the king, who should he be hearing it from? Alright, moon tea is what they call it. Alright. Next week's episode is going to set a lot of stuff in motion. My DVR cut out, so I didn't get the preview for next week. So, yeah, I'll take your word for that one. Also, I think that's the last episode before the big 10-year time jump. So I would assume we could treat this like sort of like a mid-season finale of sorts. So I expect that's going to be a really big one. Alright, people can't... Alright, it doesn't look like we have a consensus on the new Rhaenyra actress yet. And I am... Alright, I'm gonna have to look this up, because people... Come on. House of the Dragon... Rhaenyra actress... let's see. Emma Darcy. She have a Wikipedia? Come on. Doesn't say. On. Alright, well, Google says she is non-binary. Alright, so... Alright, that's what I'm going with. Yeah, that's... You can kind of tell by looking at her. Alright, or looking at them, I guess. I don't know how that works. So, according to Google, Emma Darcy is non-binary, so that's what we're going with. Thoughts on... Thoughts on the leader and an Israeli superhero showing up in Captain America New World Order? First time hearing about that, actually. The only Israeli superhero I know of is Sabra. But she's a mutant, I think. Yeah. So... Would that count as, like, I don't know. Would that count as another mutant character, or would they change it? I don't know where that's going. This is the first time hearing about this. Hey, Alex is in the chat room. What's going on? I figured this was the best time to ask this. What's your opinion on all the AEW All-Out Media Scrum fallout? Do you think anyone should be fired? Okay. Well, it's, I can't really speak to whether someone should be fired, because I don't really know a lot about that situation. I know there was some kind of fight. If anyone were to get fired, my guess is it would be Ace Steel, because he's the only one who doesn't really have a big role, I guess. I mean, the EVPs, I think, are going to be fine. They're not going anywhere unless they want to be. They're not the world champion. So if somebody's got to be made an example of, my guess is it would be Ace Steel. Otherwise, I think Tony Khan's doing what he needs to do. You know, all the people in the fight got suspended. You know, Punk can't do anything for a while anyway because he got injured. But you know, he's stripped them of all the titles. So let things cool off for a while. I guess they're doing an investigation too. So it seems like Tony Khan is handling this appropriately. I don't think there's a reason for like to hand out any pink slips as long as everybody involved kind of gets the message. I would suspect the EVPs would probably get the message before Punk. I don't think Punk gives a shit. So let things cool off for a little while. Keep them off TV for as long as you think is appropriate. Then bring them back, sit them down, have a conversation with them, and then figure out how best to move forward. I would not be surprised to see Kenny and the Bucks removed from the EVP positions, and that might be for the best, because them being involved in that stuff while they're active members of the roster might be a conflict of interest. So I would not be surprised to see some changes made in that regard. I wouldn't expect too many firings though. You could probably smooth this out without firing too many people. But if anyone does get fired, I don't think Ace Steel is going to be there much longer. Excuse me. Thoughts on Thunderbolts being led by Black Widow's sister and not Baron Zemo? I have mixed feelings. I am disappointed that Zemo isn't in there. I think he should be in there, because the original Thunderbolts in the comics were led by Baron Zemo. So it seems like a missed opportunity that he's not going to be in there, and I think it's dumb. I do like Yelena though, and I'm glad she's in there. And I guess I was sort of right about about Val being the one putting together the Thunderbolts. Just wasn't doing it in She-Hulk. It's cool that Bucky's in there too. I do think there is an issue here where, aside from Ghost, who I'm happy to see in the roster, a lot of these characters are very similar. I remember Joss Whedon did an interview. I think it was on Late Night, where he was promoting Age of Ultron. And he said one of the problems he had with the first Avengers movie was that everybody had punchy powers. So they were all kind of the same. Yeah, so everybody is very similar. You've got the hand-to-hand fighters, and just about everybody has some degree of super strength. So a lot of their fighting styles ended up kind of looking similar, because there wasn't a huge variety of powers outside of Iron Man and Thor. That it kind of looks like they're going to have the same problem here, because you've got a Black Widow, you've got two super soldiers. You've got Red Guardian, and Bucky counts too, I guess, and Ghost. Ghost adds some variety, but otherwise it's like these characters all seem very similar. So I honestly would have liked them to get Abomination in there. I thought that's where he was headed. Apparently not. But I would like to see more variety of powers. Um, like Red Guardian, really? And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's doing in there. Didn't really love the character in Black Widow. Not really his fault, but didn't have a burning desire to see him again. I would just like. I think it would benefit the movie if they had a little more variety in terms of the characters and the powers they have. See, Yelena, Red Guardian, his wife, Taskmaster, Bucky, Ghost, and U.S. Agent. Oh, yeah, so that's another super soldier right there. So it's mostly just super soldiers and Black Widows. And Ghost. So Ghost is the only variety we get in terms of like powers and stuff. I'm thinking that if Ace Steel gets let go, CM Punk is gonna go with him. CM Punk burying the locker room and his boss at the scrum wasn't a professional look either. Yeah, probably. But if a lot of the stuff we're hearing now is true, Punk might need to go for the sake of the roster anyway. I mean, he's got 8 or 9 months to kind of cool down. You know, while he heals up from the injury, but doesn't seem like he's popular backstage. And, a lot of the issues they're having now didn't seem to be issues before he showed up. So, I don't know. I mean, I know he's bringing in a lot of money, but he might be more trouble than he's worth. Frankly, I'm glad it's not my I'm glad I'm not the one who has to deal with this. Oh yeah, Taskmaster's in there too. Didn't she die though? I don't remember. Yeah, what a strong impression that character made, huh? If I can't remember if she's alive or not. Not sure if Kenny losing his EVP status would be a good thing since he's the bridge, more or less, for the Joshi wrestling with Riho, Emi Sakura, and Hikaru Shida. Would that really be a huge sacrifice, though? As I remember when Kenny was basically in charge of the women's division in those early days, that was when I wasn't really digging it that much. And remember, I mean, the Joshi, at that time, they were focusing pretty heavily on the Joshi stuff, which is why a lot of people weren't that interested in the women's division at that time, because it just wasn't, it wasn't grabbing them. And, look at the big stars in the division now. Look at the people who have really got over. It hasn't been the Joshis. It's been people like Britt Baker. There's been it's like Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, Jade Cargill, Chris Statlander before she got injured. It hasn't been the Joshis. I mean, Hikaru Shida kind of caught on, but she's not really getting pushed heavily anymore. Emi Sakura, she's just wrestling on Dark. She's somebody who like the newer girls can have good matches with. That's about it. Riho, we barely see her anymore. So I would argue that the Joshis are kind of unnecessary, because they're not the ones who have really turned into stars in this division. Let's see. Thoughts on Werewolf by Night and Secret Invasion? Werewolf by Night looks strange. Like, I don't know what kind of tone they're going for. It looks like they're trying to make it like some kind of 50s B movie, which is certainly a different approach. I think I need to see more than the teaser, though. I don't think we don't really know what he looks like yet. Yeah, it could be interesting, though. I see they got the Amalia True actress from The Nevers in there, and she's really good. What is her name? Laura Donnelly. Laura Donnelly. Yeah, she's playing Elsa Bloodstone, I think. So I like her a lot. So it's cool that she's in there. I'll check it out. Werewolf by Night seems like a kind of a long shot, though. I mean, if you thought Moon Knight was an obscure character, I mean they made that work. But Werewolf by Night, I mean, what's been going on with that property for the last 20 years? Nothing. It's kind of weird that Werewolf by Night happened before a much bigger property like Thunderbolts or something else. Secret Invasion. You know, I watched the trailer and I barely remember anything in it. It's cool that it's going to focus on Sam Jackson. So I mean, I'll watch. I mean, I'll watch for Sam Jackson, but I don't know. They're adapting a story that that in the comics was kind of a mess. I mean, conceptually it was interesting, but in execution, it was really just chaotic and all over the place, and it seemed really unfocused. And I don't know. Maybe we should have spent more time with the Skrulls before this happened, you know? But hey, I mean, Sam Jackson is back in it. He's going to be the star, presumably. So, I mean, how bad could it really be? Not saying I'm that excited about it. See, in my opinion, Korg and Valkyrie should have died in Love and Thunder, as nobody cares or missed them. I think, I mean, killing either of them would have been a wasted opportunity, because, I mean, if a character dies, I want it to be in a meaningful way, even if it's a character that people don't necessarily like that much. And just the way that movie turned out, it wouldn't have meant anything. Like, Jane died, I didn't feel anything, because the movie it wasn't written well, and everything was a joke. And I mean, there was a scene early on when Sif is lying on the battlefield with her arm ripped off, and they're making jokes. It's all played very quippy and silly. It's like, dude, maybe get her medical attention. I mean, the woman's been maimed. You know, she's talking about how, you know, let me die so I can go to Valhalla. Why are we making jokes right now? This should be serious. I mean, when that's the tone of the movie, then trying to kill characters off for like pathos or something just doesn't work. So if they're gonna start killing people, I want it to be in a movie where I can actually take that seriously. You know what I mean? And I actually liked Valkyrie in Ragnarok. Not so much in this movie, because now, I don't know. I think Tessa Thompson was not on. Tessa Thompson was on like give no fucks duty for most of that movie. So I don't know what Taika Waititi was going for with that one. I just don't think it worked. The Suicide Squad literally made fun of how Bloodsport and Peacemaker have the exact same skill sets. They're doing that, but at least double with the Thunderbolts. Yeah, kind of. I would not expect them to be nearly as self-aware about it as James Gunn was. And he already used up all the jokes they could use if they were going to make fun of it. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. As an action movie, I'm sure I expect it'll be fine. But story-wise, they're going to have to get creative with that. And 4 episodes in, I'm still waiting for the first joke in She-Hulk. Yeah, she catfished that dude, then got smashed and dashed. It was wonderful. The problem is the way they played it, they wanted us to feel bad for her. Like, why? Like she's the one who took advantage of him. Like, you catfish the guy, and then you want us to feel bad when he takes off? Unbelievable. Like, I still can't believe how that scene turned out the way it did. Like, these writers have no idea what they're doing. Imagine saying you're a show that doesn't rely on cameos and then have cameos from white males every episode or just a male in general. So empowering, right? Yeah, you're not a cameo show, but you're doing cameos every week. Wasn't there a report somewhere that said they had, like, massive reshoots on this show? Because it is kind of weird that you claim to not be a cameo show, even when you're doing loads of cameos all the time. Also, I get the sense that the most recent episode was heavily rewritten, probably several times, because there was that character, that the dude who was, like, Donnie's hype man or sidekick or whatever, the older dude. Like, what was the purpose of that character? He didn't do anything. He was just a guy who was hanging around. So, I feel like there was a previous version of that episode where that guy played some kind of a role or maybe had some kind of subplot that got erased. Or, like they did reshoots and got rid of it for some reason. Because otherwise, why was that guy there? It was so weird. He didn't do anything. He was just a dude who was hanging around. Like, how much of that did they reshoot? It's only a matter of time before Thor and She-Hulk get together. Well, that's kind of on brand for She-Hulk. I mean, she does hook up with a lot of people. I would not expect Thor would be given the best treatment in that situation, but it's not really out of character for She-Hulk to do that kind of stuff. Sabra is the Israeli superhero appearing in Captain America New World Order, which is bringing up lots of controversy. Controversy why? Is it because she's supposed to be a mutant? Because, like, would she not be a mutant anymore? The writers admitted to not reading the comics and knowing nothing. That does not surprise me. But using their own life experiences, as if anyone ever... Yeah, so they admitted to not reading the comics? Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. They had to reshoot episodes 1 and 2 and 5 and 6 because they weren't going to show the Hulk until the end of the show, but then reshot to include him in the beginning due to lack of interest. But they didn't reshoot episode 4? I find that hard to believe. That episode felt like there were major reshoots tinkering with the final version. I would be stunned if there were no reshoots on that one. The director didn't want She-Hulk to have an origin story episode, but they were forced to do it instead of the first episode exploring Jen and the second one with her powers. Yeah, I heard that too. Like, they wanted to... Like, they didn't want to do an origin story, or at least they wanted to do it later, but Marvel forced them to start with it, which really does explain a lot, considering how rushed that whole episode was and how sloppy it was. It's like they could not finish the origin fast enough. It's like they just didn't care and just wanted to get it over with. And it shows in the final product. Like, they did not give a shit. Apparently episode 1 was originally episode 8. Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't cause any confusion. Because remember when Firefly got fucked with, and the network decided to air like the original pilot at the end of the season instead of at the beginning? Yeah, that didn't cause any confusion at all, did it? Alright, well, we're at the bottom of the chat room. Alright, so if you have any more comments, get them in right now, and then we can wrap this up. The only funny thing about the She-Hulk series is that the Fantastic Four and Incredible Hulk animated series did a much better job with the character that is, than this potential abomination. Incredible Hulk animated series. Do you mean that Agents of Smash series? I never even watched that one. Yeah, but this doesn't surprise me. These writers did not. If these writers like aren't reading the comics and didn't care about the source material, didn't care about doing the origin properly, then are you really surprised that somebody else did it better? How do you think Daredevil will be handled in She-Hulk? I'm keeping my expectations low. There was a little bit with Matt Murdock in the trailer for the second half of the season. I think they were him and Jen are sitting in a bar, and Matt says something like you're in a unique position to do some good because as Jen you can help people when society fails them, and as She-Hulk you can help people when the law fails them. And that was fine. If the rest of the episode were like that, and Daredevil is used to kind of give Jen an appreciation for how She-Hulk can help people, that'd be all right. So there was nothing in there to really give me pause yet. But I mean, that was like a 5-second clip. So yeah, I'm keeping my expectations low. The only thing that gives me a little bit of hope is that so many people are really anticipating Daredevil showing up. This is the first time we're actually going to see him. Maybe I would hope the writers would feel some added pressure to get this right, because people are going to crucify them if they screw this up. Because I mean, they're following the fucking Daredevil Netflix series, which people love. So if they were to fuck up the first appearance of Daredevil since then, oh no. They'd get destroyed, and they deserve it. So, I mean, if they were going to put some actual effort into anything on this show, I hope it would be that. So, I mean, that little scene in the trailer was all right. If the rest of his appearances goes that way, maybe he'll escape the show unscathed. But like I said, expectations are low right now. And not just the Agents of Smash that ironically was made by Disney, but the original Incredible Hulk animated series from the 90s that many people love that character in more ways than one. Alright. Well, Hulk animated series in the 90s. I don't think I ever watched that one. Huh. Do you think they should have cast a sexier Jen Walters? Not really. I think the casting is fine. I mean, I like Tatiana Maslany. She is very talented. I mean, the writers haven't really been taking advantage of it, but I think the casting is all right. I don't have an issue with that. And she's not supposed to be super sexy as Jen Walters. I mean, as Jen, she's supposed to be kind of mousy and unsure of herself, which is why the contrast between her and She-Hulk is so was so great. That's why she enjoys being She-Hulk, because she likes being, attractive and alluring in ways that she wasn't really as Jen. So I think that kind of makes sense. It's not like Tatiana Maslany is unattractive. I mean, if that's what you think, I think you maybe need to, maybe your standards are a little high. But no, I think Tatiana Maslany is casting as Jen Walters. I liked that when it was announced a couple of years ago. I thought that was a good choice. And I stand by what I said. I think she could be a good She-Hulk if the writing, gave her a chance. But writers have been dropping the ball at every turn. Yeah, She-Hulk is supposed to be sexy. This version is not sexy. Well, that's what happens when you don't read the comics. She's supposed to enjoy being She-Hulk, and right now she doesn't. Now, I understand that she needs an arc, but why can that not be part of it, Like, maybe by the end of the season, she'll realize that there's a lot of benefits to being She-Hulk, and she'll, learn to appreciate it and start to enjoy it and stuff. Yeah, it seemed like she was starting to do that in this episode, but then they took it back. So, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why the arc can't begin with her enjoying being She-Hulk. But I mean, I don't really know what they're doing. I mean, if they're not basing this on the comics, except in the most superficial ways, then there's no telling what they're up to. Okay, that seems to be about it. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? So I've got a few emails I need to send out, so looks like that should about do it. Second. Alright, well. Do you think they're purposely dressing her up like a dude? I think they're intentionally... I think they're intentionally... how do I say this? I think they don't want to encourage the male gaze. Like, at some point it became frowned upon for female characters to actually be sexy. Which is why I think we're not seeing much of that. Which is why they're dressing her in, like, pantsuits and stuff instead of, like, a skirt or whatever. I think I said this in the review. Like, episode 4 on the date was the first time we'd seen her, actually dressing like a woman, and not something that like a man could wear. It's like, all right, well, that was nice, but then, then again they take it back because they don't want to encourage the male gaze, because God forbid, right? Even if that's kind of what the character's supposed to be about. I don't know how these writers got hired. I really don't. Doesn't seem like they know anything. It's not getting any better. And don't encourage the male gaze, then go out of your way to show her twerking. Does not compute. Yeah, like episode 1, she complains about getting catcalled. Episode 2, complains about not being taken seriously in the workplace. Episode 3, she's shaking her ass in the workplace for the entire office to see. There is no consistency. That's one of the problems. You know, Midnight's Edge talked about this too. They did a video on it just the other day. Like, every writer seems to have different ideas about how they said this. Like, every writer is like a feminist of a different color. So they all have different ideas about what kind of feminist philosophy the show should have. So that's why you're seeing the lack of consistency on display here. And this is one of those issues that Jessica Gao should be on top of. But, you know, she doesn't give a shit. Which is why you're seeing so many holes like that. And, alright, I've got some work to do, actually. Some IRL stuff. Gotta send out a few emails. So that's probably a good place to end it there. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you to Green Entertainment for the Super Chat, and thank you to the $50 Super Chat that doesn't seem to be there anymore. Not sure what happened to that. But, hey, you know who you are, good sir. Thank you very much. And, yeah, as usual, once we finish up here tonight, this stream will be set to private, and I'll be putting it on the live streaming channel in the next day or two. Thank you to all the new people here who may be checking us out for the first time. Like I said, we've gotten a nice little boost in subs from the She-Hulk videos, so we might have some new people in there. Thanks for tuning in. And as usual, I guess we're gonna keep doing these well, we're gonna take it on a week-by-week basis, but I expect I'll be back here next week at the same day, at the same time, to talk about House of the Dragon Episode 5. I think that's the last one before they do the big time jump and swap out the actors, so that should be a pretty big one. Hope it's good. Hope there's less super uncomfortable and super gross stuff, but we'll see. In the meantime, got a little work to do, so stay tuned. Subscribe to the live streaming channel, link to which should be in the description box if you ever want to listen to any of these streams again. That's where they'll be, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.